Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be joining from. I am HR Funk, and this is my firing line. This is the online show that is completely driven by you, your questions, and your comments. Otherwise, I would be out trying to figure out if a PFC Chewy in the woods by himself makes a noise. I'm leaning toward yes. And by the way, Chewy was promoted to PFC, not by any meritorious actions on his part, rather just by based on time in grade and time in service. But fortunately, it was not due to any DEI nonsense. So, and I don't know where he is right now. He's loafing somewhere out of the other room. This is my post-shot show firing line, and I want to update all of you on everything that took place while I was out there. Uh, if you saw my last firing line, my last show, you know that this was the first shot show that I ever attended, and it was really quite an experience. It's going to be hard for me to put a lot of it into words because it is so huge, not only in scope but in geographical area and volume. There is just so much there to see, and it's. I think my mental image of the shot show before going there was kind of like it was a sort of a big industry firearms insider party, and everybody got together and had a great time and all that. And it's really not, for me at least, it was work. It was a lot of work, um, because I was so focused on trying to get to the places I wanted to go and talk to the people I wanted to talk to, and touch base with a lot of people that I haven't seen for a while, and also try to explore some new avenues and make some new contacts with people that I might be able to work with in the future. So it was kind of a grueling experience for me, and I'll start the story in the beginning. But before I get into all that, let me say hi to everyone here. I know Chris 1911 was the first one in the room. Um, Katie Cowboy is here. Marvin was also very early on. I don't know if John G is still here. He chimed in for just a moment. Rabbi is here. Thanks for joining, Rabbi. By the way, I was kidding. I still have that MP5 clone. And who else do I have? Jeff Tim is here. Ohio Gunrunner. Clinton Lane. Big Shug is here. And I think that's everybody so far. So it shows there's 29 people in the room. If you haven't said hi yet, go ahead and just chime in so I know you're here. But I can finally reveal some details that I couldn't talk about the last time around when I was getting ready to go to the SHOT Show. I was invited to attend the SHOT Show by Olight, and I've featured some of their products in my videos in the past, and I have I was one of the people that was able to originally take a look at the O site when they unveiled it last year, and they sent me the two new versions of the O site, the O site S and the O site X, prior to them being launched during the week of the SHOT Show. And I was able to evaluate them and produce videos on them and all that. But I was contractually obligated not to discuss anything about those products, to reveal anything about going to the SHOT Show or anything else. It's the first time I ever had to sign a contract for a product that I was reviewing, not to disclose anything about it, so I couldn't talk about it the last time around. But they were the ones that invited me out. And I'm not sure why my voice sounds so strange today, but I've got something. This is just ginger ale right here, so hopefully it'll get my voice back into shape here in a moment. But I was invited out to the SHOT Show by O-Site, or Olight rather. But they were not able to bring me out and give me one of their badges. Now, they had a bunch of people out there, and presumably they had passed out all the badges they had, and they just didn't have any left for anybody like me. But they were having a launch event out there on the 22nd, which was a week ago this past Tuesday. So I had to go through the whole rigmarole as registering as a member of the media, and I talked about that in the last live stream about how much of a ordeal that was, and how much back and forth there was to convince the people in the NSSF that I actually was a legitimate. I hate to think of myself as a member of the media. That just sounds weird to me. But a legitimate YouTube content creator with a firearms basis. So that's what I was working back and forth with them. Finally, they agreed to let me in. Only a few days before the SHOT Show, as a matter of fact. So I had scheduled my flight. I had a room booked in Vegas, and I flew out on Monday, the 21st. And my flight didn't leave Cleveland until, well, it was supposed to leave at about 7 o'clock. It ended up getting delayed and didn't leave until 7:30 or a little bit later. So I'm flying out to Vegas, and it was the weirdest thing. I'm flying through time zones. I relived the hour between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock 3 different times because my watch kept updating every time I flew through a time zone. It was a little bit like being in a time warp or a time loop or something like that, where every time I look at my watch, it was back to like 10:02 again, and I had to go back through that hour another time. But eventually I made it to Vegas, and I got there about 11:45 or so Vegas time. So by the time I got off the plane and got through the airport and everything, it's getting close to midnight. Now, the one good thing about the airport experience is people from the National Shooting Sports Foundation actually had representatives at the airport, and I was able to get my media credentials there. There was a sign when I was walking through the airport that directed me down a hallway and around a corner and into a small room. There were some nice people there. I was able to show them my identification, show them my email confirmation, and I got my credentials to get into the SHOT Show right there before I ever had to show up, which I'm glad I did because it saved me some time the next morning, which, as you'll hear, turned out to be pretty hectic. So caught a cab, went to the hotel, and I was staying in Circus Circus. I mentioned that in the last show as well. And I'm both happy and not so happy that I was staying in Circus Circus. I'm happy because Circus Circus is a historic Vegas hotel. It's one that's been featured in any number of TV shows and movies and one thing and another that I've seen over the years. In fact, the second or third day I was there, I was walking down a staircase, and it struck me as I was walking down the stairs that I had seen that very staircase in the scene of a movie. And I think it was called Honeymoon in Vegas, if I remember right. There was a bunch of people that were at the top of the stairs, and they all came down at the same time. And it was weird because I'm walking down, I'm like, it just hit me. This was that staircase. So that was cool. But the other side of the coin is Circus Circus. Apparently, part of it has been remodeled and part of it has not. And I was in the has not portion, and it looked to me like that part of the hotel was constructed probably in the 1970s and had not been updated since that time. There were no place to charge anything. Usually you go into a hotel room nowadays and there's USB ports all over the place to plug in iPhones and watch chargers and iPads and everything. Nothing like that there. There was a power outlet that powered the TV in the room that was down on the floor. There was not even a convenient place to put anything that was charging there. And there was another one behind the nightstand that my lamp was on next to the bed, and that was it. The room was relatively clean, but it definitely showed the wear of a lot of years. So it was okay. The price wasn't bad to stay there. I have to admit that. Although I think it was $88 a night or something to stay there. So for the 3 nights, it was whatever 88 times 3 is. But with the taxes and fees that got tacked on when I got to Vegas, that basically doubled the price of the room. So there was that. And it might sound like I'm complaining. I'm really not. I'm more or less just explaining the situation from when I got there. So anyway, I got to my room somewhere after midnight. Now, my body, of course, is still on East Coast time. So to me, it was 3 something in the morning by the time I went to bed. Went to bed that first night, no gambling, no drinking, no carousing, nothing like that. Straight to the room, checked in, went to bed, and I was out. But of course, I couldn't sleep because I normally wake up at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. So I woke up Vegas time at whatever ridiculous time in the morning was, and I couldn't get back to sleep. I've never tolerated time change as well. Even when we go from daylight savings time to Eastern Standard Time and back, that always screws with me a little bit. When I went to Japan years ago, it took me a week or so to acclimate to the time out there. So I'm in Vegas, got to bed late, didn't sleep well, but I'm up the next morning. And if you saw the last show, you know that I had Jared from SDS Arms that was on as a guest, and he recommended get to the show early, find your way around, get used to the locations and everything else. Well, fortunately, I heeded that advice. Now, I did not know it, but there's a shuttle service that was running from Circus Circus to the SHOT Show. So that was nice. I walked out of the hotel in the morning. There was a bus there, like a minibus that had a SHOT Show sticker in the window. I jumped on there. It drove me over to the SHOT Show, which was not that far. It was a mile-ish from the hotel. But the SHOT Show was in 2 different enormous buildings. There was the Caesars Forum, right? Which was one huge event center, is what I'll call it. And then there was the oh shoot, the name of the other place just went right out of my mind. I'll think of it here in a little bit. But there was another gigantic, and the other building that the name I can't think of right off the top of my head was the main building for the SHOT Show, and Caesars Forum was sort of like the overflow. So the shuttle bus took me to Caesars Forum. I got out there, I walked in, I'm like, okay, I have arrived. I am at the SHOT Show. Now, the Olight launch event that I had to be present for was in the other building. So the first thing I had to do was find out how to get from where I was to this the Venetian Expo. That was the name of the other building. And I'm walking around and walking. Seems like I'm walking forever. And can't find my way there. I'm asking people directions. Finally, I found my way to this bridge that went across a street and into the Venetian Expo. So, okay, now I've arrived at the right place. I'm where I'm supposed to be. This was about 7:30, 7:45, something like that in the morning. Now, keep in mind, I'm in a little bit of a fog, jet lag, not sleeping well, all that kind of thing. And I'm now trying to figure out where in this enormous building this Olight launch event is going to be. So I end up wandering around through the building, and I made my way down into the basement, which is where the Olight booth was. And I found the Olight booth, and I'm asking them where the launch event is going to be. And there was another gentleman there too that was doing the same thing as I was. And they told me it was going to be on the 4th floor. Okay, so how do you get to the 4th floor? So now I'm wandering all upstairs, back, all around the place. I found these escalators that are going up, and up. Finally, I found my way to the 4th floor. I got to where I was supposed to be on time. The Olight launch event was very nice. Olight always does a very professional job with their presentations. It reminds me a lot of Apple Computer. If you've ever seen those where whoever, whether it was Steve Jobs or any of the people that are running the show nowadays, are up on stage and they've got everybody around and there's the video playing in the background that's all choreographed with what they're showing on stage and everything else. That's very much the way Olight does things. And of course, they announced that they are spinning off OSIGHT into its own brand, and they did a big presentation with the new OSIGHTs. They had a picture of me up on the screen, so that was cool. Um, and they went over the new sights and they talked about all the features. And I actually learned a couple of things I didn't know. They have come up with a new aluminum alloy that they're using in the O sights. And when I recorded my video, I talked about them being made out of 7075, but that's not the case. They call this OAL, which is O aluminum, and it's a stronger alloy yet than 7075 that they're using in the new O sight. So I learned that. Um, there were a bunch of people in there. There were some other content creators. There were some law enforcement officers. There was I think it was Hoist Gracie, one of the Gracies from the original Ultimate Fighting Challenge from back in the day was present there. So a lot of individuals, great presentation. It went on for about an hour. And when that was done, I was able then to go back out and actually start to make my way through the SHOT Show and try to make contact with all the people that I wanted to see when I got there. So I've got a phone app that has presumably listed all of the exhibitors in the SHOT Show, and I've got all kinds of different people I want to see. I started out with the folks at Hilux Optics, who a lot of you know is a longtime friend of the channel. I've reviewed a number of their optics over the years that they have sent to me. I have had them, I've been on their live streams, they've been on my live streams, but I had never met these guys face to face. So finally, I got to meet Chris and Scott from Hilux Optics, talk to them for a little while, look around their booth. That was great. And I left there. They were up on the main floor in the Venetian Expo. I went down to the basement, and I think I talked about this in my video that went live last Monday. The basement is kind of exciting because the basement is a lot of the smaller, up and coming, new product people that cannot afford a gigantic space on the SHOT Show main floor. And from what I understand, it is extremely expensive. And when I think about a booth like Smith & Wesson, that it's just like enormous and they've got all kinds of space they're taking up and everything else. From what I understand, that is thousands, like on the order of $50,000 or thereabouts to have that space for Smith & Wesson. The smaller booths obviously are less expensive, but those big booths that the really large manufacturers have are extremely expensive. So the smaller manufacturers are down in the basement where it's cheaper. And when I was down there, I touched base with the folks from Isotune Sports who have supplied a lot of the ear pro that I use. I touched base with SSP Eyewear, which produces the shooting glasses that I wear that have the magnifying lens and all that. Who else was down in the basement? Made contact with somebody down there that's making a new light mount for the H&K MP5. Talk to those folks. Hopefully the one that they had down there right now is not ready for production yet, but hopefully when they get a production model, I'll be able to get one in and show it to all of you and review it. Since I now have the Mac 5, which speaking of the Mac 5, that thing, I said in the video, I ordered that back around late September, early October, something like that. It came in literally about a week before I was leaving for the SHOT Show. So that first video that I produced with the Mac 5 was an extremely rushed production. And I got out to the range that day and it was like 5 degrees or something insane like that because I wanted to get a little bit of shooting footage with the Mac 5, but I got that video up. Tomorrow's video is going to be the follow-up with the Mac 5. So I'm going to cover a lot more ground with that. Tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for my follow-up video with the Mac 5. And again, that's going to have a lot more information. So anyway, made contact with everybody down in the basement. Eventually, I made my way back upstairs. And it's so disorienting when you've not been there before, because I'm walking through this building and a lot of the displays are gigantic. So you can't see around you to see any sort of landmarks or anything like that. And you'll think you're walking one direction when you're actually walking another direction. And I have a great sense of direction. I'm never lost, but I was lost walking around there most of the first day. I did see a lot of great stuff. I didn't take any, or at least not much video the first day because I really wanted to spend that day trying to orient myself and figure out where everybody was and everything else, with the idea that I was going to come back the next day on day two and take most of my video, which is what I ended up doing. So I I don't know how many miles I walked that first day, probably 10 miles or something like that, walking around the SHOT Show. Saw a lot of things, talked to a lot of people. Uh, I ended up leaving, and there was a evening concert, I guess, that they were having. The SHOT Show ended at 5:30, and there was going to be, food and beer and concert and everything. I was so tired by the time 5 o'clock or 5:30 rolled around. I walked back, climbed onto the shuttle bus that was going back to Circus Circus, rode back there, grabbed some food, ate it in my room, and I was out. And that was the end of day one at the SHOT Show. And let me see, I made some notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. And it looks like I hit everything pretty well. And before I get to day two, let me see how many comments that I'm missing here. Dale Kidd is here. Scott from South Carolina. Social media influencer, Rabbi call. Yeah, that when I was at the Olight launch event, they gave us all name tags, and mine said influencer on it. That term makes my skin crawl. I hate that. I am not an influencer. I am a content creator. I'm a gun guy. I am not trying to influence anybody to do anything. I'm just trying to present all of you with the best information I can, and you can do with that information what you want. But anyway, I have this silly sticker that says influencer, which might actually still be around here someplace. But yeah, thanks, Rabbi. Influencer. Oh, man. Skip Boyer's here. CMP 1911s are simply up for sale. No more random generator. Yeah, I saw that, but the price is still like $1,200 or something insane like that. So that's, I guess, good that it's not quite such a difficult process to get one. Rabbi, I thought they tore that place down. No, Circus Circus is still there. Patrick, what? Is that the one with tunnels under it for trafficking kids? No. There is a like a tram system or a train system there, though, to get you around. $88. Sure, with two clowns in a pit. No. No, nobody in there with me, unless there was somebody in there during the day and they were gone by the time I got there in the evening. Terry Barnes is here. We don't need the sanitizer. No, this is not sanitized. This is actually how boring I am. Craig Benz just got the notification. Glad you made it, Craig. So, all right. So anyway, day two, again, I woke up at some insane time in the morning because I'm still on East Coast time. But I went to sleep the evening before at like, I don't know, 6:30 or 7 o'clock Vegas time, something like that. It was pretty pathetic, truthfully. But I woke up the next morning, got ready, grabbed a cup of coffee. Fortunately, one of the nice things about Circus Circus is it's almost, and maybe this is true for all the casinos. I don't know. This is my first time in Vegas, but it's almost like its own self-contained little city. There are convenience stores, there are gift shops, there are restaurants, there are coffee shops. So all this stuff. There was a Krispy Kreme donuts and a Starbucks, and maybe even more than that, that were in Circus Circus. I went to the Krispy Kreme. Nice lady in there got me a nice big cup of coffee. So grabbed that on my way back out to the shuttle bus, and I'm on my way back to the SHOT Show. Actually, I went this time. I caught the bus that was going to the Venetian Expo. So I got off the bus there, and that was the time. If you saw my video that I posted on Monday, that was the time I walked in, and there was this area that was new products or new product area, something like that was called. It says for media only. So I'm looking at my badge, and I'll grab this thing because I happen to have it here beside me. So this was the thing that I had to work so hard to get, my media pass. And I thought, hey, this thing says media on, so I should be able to walk in here and look around. So I walked in there, and there's all these new products, and everything's inside of display cases. There's row after row display cases. So I'm going through there, I'm taking video, I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, oh, hey, here's the new such and such from so and so, and here's something else, and here's just taking video right and left. And this guy walks up behind me, and he goes, hey, you can get ejected from here for doing that. I said, what are you talking about? He says, there's no photography or video allowed in here. Now, why do you invite the media into a section of a show and then not allow any photographs or video? So I'm like, oh, so okay, sorry, didn't know. So I've got all this like video on my phone that now is like contraband that I can't use. So that's why the only thing you see in the video from Monday is just me saying, hey, you know, I'm in the media section and I guess I'm part of the media now or whatever. So I narrowly avoided being thrown out of my very first SHOT Show for taking video someplace that I wasn't supposed to. Anyway, got out of there, went back into the regular part of the SHOT Show. So this was the day I was taking most of my video. Probably 3/4 of the video you saw in the one that I produced, I took on day 2. And I mentioned during my show the last time around that I was going to try to do what I did at the last NRA annual meeting, which was upload video, like, you know, take a video here about this product or that video or that product, and then upload the video as a short on YouTube and then go to the next booth and do that. The problem with the SHOT Show is there is so much to see, and you have so little time because you're constantly on the move trying to get from here to there to here to there to wherever. So I just didn't have time to upload those as shorts. So I took the videos and took the videos and took the videos with the idea that I was going to put them all together into one SHOT Show review video, which is what I eventually ended up doing. But this was the day that I saw Mark from DS Arms when they were, he was showing everyone the new T-48 that they're building, which was just incredibly cool. And he said that idea came about because when I was making my video on the FAL that he had sent me back during the summer, and I was talking about the history of it and everything else, that conjured the idea in somebody's mind. Hey, let's build or rebuild a T-48. So they're doing that now. So how cool is that? You know, something I was talking about actually translated into a very cool product that's now being launched by DS Arms and sold by PSA under their H&R brand name. So extremely cool. I also made it by the SDS booth that day, talked to Jared, which is always fun. I'm getting to the point with some of these folks, and Jared is one of them, Mark is another, where it's not like I'm going to talk to the representative from such and such a company. It's like, hey, I'm going to talk to Jared. I'm going to talk to Mark. I'm getting a very like casual or friendly relationship with these folks, which I really enjoy. And I hope they feel the same way, you know, when they're talking to me. It's not, you know, some guy from YouTube that's looking for content for views or whatever, but it's like, you know, friends, and we shoot the breeze and, hey, what do you got that's new? And they show me this and show me that and whatever else. That was a lot of fun. Made a lot of new contacts that day. See if I wrote anybody down, and I don't think I did. But again, about 3/4 of what you saw in my video that I produced on the SHOT Show came from day 2. Again, by the end of day 2, I was wiped out. Back to the hotel, again, eating supper in the hotel room, crashed at 7 o'clock or something like that, and was just dead out, gone. So, yeah, no shows, no dancing girls, no nothing like that. It very much was a working trip for me. Next morning, back up. Now, by day 3, I finally had a really good feel for the place. I kind of knew the lay of the land. I was getting a little more acclimated to the time zone. The weather had gotten warmer. The first day that I got there, I think it was something like 29 degrees or something when I woke up in the morning. So it was fairly cool. But the odd thing with Vegas, and I guess this is just true because of the desert climate, is it gets very cold at night, and then it warms up very quickly when the sun comes up. It got up to on a couple of those days up around 60 degrees, which it would hit around noon, and it would almost no sooner get to that temperature until it would start dropping off again. So I would walk out of the hotel in the morning. I'm like, man, it's kind of cold. And then somewhere during the day, if I walked outside, I was like, wow, what a nice day. It's nice and warm. And then by the time I left the SHOT Show in the evening, going, man, it's kind of cold again. But by day 3, I went back. Day 3 was my most relaxed day because I had gotten most of the video that I wanted to get. I had made contact with most of the people I wanted to talk to. So day 3, I was really just walking around, kind of looking for interesting things. I think that's the day I saw the magazine fed crossbow. That's the day I saw the Daisy Red Ryder. I don't remember what else I saw that day, but I got just some of the fun things that I took as part of the video. Uh, late in the day, 3 of the booths started passing out free beer. Loophole was passing out free beer. Oh shoot, Dead Air Silencers was passing out beer, and somebody else was. I can't think who the other person was now, or the other booth was now. So I ended up getting 3 free beers. By that time, when I got back to the hotel, I was not feeling any pain, but that was my last day there, and I was going to fly out at midnight that night. This would have been Thursday night. So I had checked out of Circus Circus before I left to go to the SHOT Show that morning. I was able to check my bags with the bell service there. By the way, the bell service at Circus Circus, great, great people, helpful people. I ended up shooting the breeze with them when I got back there. They asked me, what I was doing at the SHOT Show, and I talked about, my channel, and I gave them my cards, and they were talking about watching the videos. Just a couple of great guys that I talked to there. So thanks to the bell service at Circus Circus. I really appreciated the things you guys did. This was the only time that I actually ventured out into Vegas because I had a couple of hours to kill before my flight was going to leave. So about a block down the street behind Circus Circus was a Mexican restaurant called El Dorado that was recommended to me. So I walked down there, and you had to be careful because there's 2 doors side by side. This door goes into El Dorado, the Mexican restaurant. This door goes into the strip joint that's like connected to it right next door. So now this is after a couple of beers, so I wanted to make sure I was navigating the right way and into the right door. But I got into the right door, ordered my Mexican food. A great, great meal. I got a taquito salad that was huge and had shredded seasoned steak, lots of vegetables, or refried beans under there. I ate more food than any human being should be allowed to eat. Wonderful meal. If you ever get a chance to eat at El Dorado in Las Vegas, back behind Circus Circus, I would recommend it. Just be careful you don't walk into the wrong door, especially if you got your kids with you. So after that, I ended up catching a cab back to the airport, jumped on the plane, had a fairly miserable flight all night back to Cleveland. very uncomfortable. I could not sleep on the plane. Um, got back. Mimi picked me up at the airport on Monday morning at about 7 o'clock. We drove back home. I got into bed that morning and crashed. And I am somebody who has a hard time sleeping during the day. I did not have a hard time sleeping that day. I went to sleep at something like 8 o'clock in the morning and slept until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But it was a great trip. It was a very productive trip. Thanks to the folks at Olight for inviting me out and making this whole thing possible. Uh, and that's my Vegas story. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. And let me go back now because again, I am missing all kinds of comment. Oh, Ohio Gunrunner, did you see Hop? Yes, I did. On day two, I see this was the thing with this app. I had looked for them on my iPhone app before I even went to Vegas, and it didn't show them being on there. And I thought, well, they must not be going. So day two, I'm making my way out of the building, and I almost ran into one of the guys from Hop, and I'm like, I didn't know you. I thought you guys were out here. And he said, oh yeah, we're here. And he pointed to their booth, and it was basically right beside where we were standing. And I said, well, you guys weren't on my app. So the next day I went by there, and Sean Payne, the owner of House of Payne Munitions, was at the booth. And I said, Sean, I looked on my app and it didn't show you guys being here. Well, here it turns out there was a little tab on there that I didn't see that said something like search all exhibitors or something like that. So apparently some of the exhibitors there paid extra money so they would show up at the top of the search window. And if one of the exhibitors didn't pay that extra money, they were somewhere way down the list, not even in alphabetical order. Well, when you click that little tab, then House of Pain came up, and some other companies that I thought weren't there actually came up. And so that was one of the things I learned about the phone app for the SHOT Show. So yeah, House of Pain was there. I did see him, talk to him, so it was good to see those guys. Here comes the wife version of the story. Yeah, I agree, Craig. Influencer is a laugh. Love watching Funk's eyes read the comments. Yeah, I'm trying to do my best here. What I need is a call screener or a comment screener. Really? You don't like the Krispy Kreme coffee? Yeah, that was another thing about my room at Circus Circus. Yeah, they have a doggone inside amusement park in that hotel, but they don't have coffee makers in the hotel rooms. So I had to go get coffee from there. And yeah, the Krispy Kreme coffee was better than none. Raybo34 is here. Hi to you. And somebody just made a donation. Who is that? JL Robertus. Just for having the Enterprise in the back. Yes, my son got me that. Ben got me that for Christmas. That's an Enterprise model. I had that model. I built that when I was a kid. Uh, and I think it's the exact same one, but that model from when I was a kid is long gone. It was probably destroyed at some point because I was such a Star Trek fan as a kid. So my son got me that this past Christmas, and I'm keeping it in the box till the next time he comes up because I want he and I to put it together it, ourselves, both of us at the same time, as father and son, building the Enterprise. I think that'll be fun. So, but for now, I've got it sitting back here, orbiting the Earth, waiting for my son to get back here. Oh, I know something I wanted to tell you guys. This was another cool thing. I'm walking through the SHOT Show. This was day three. This was early on day three, and I walked by this one booth, and there was a very exuberant person there. This was an optics manufacturer, and I don't think these optics are being sold in the United States yet. And this person really was enthusiastic, wanting to tell me about the optics they had and everything about it. So I'm listening politely. And sooner or later, I got around to asking about me, and I said, told him who I was and why I was there and all. Of course, I'm wearing my, my media thing. And uh, this person all of a sudden, really wanted to have me like take an optic back home with me and evaluate. In fact, I think they wanted me to take two or three. And I was trying to explain that I have such a limited amount of space in my baggage to try to take anything that I really didn't think I was going to be able to take anything. I was asking if they could, send me this type of or these items that they wanted me to evaluate, and they very much wanted me to evaluate the optic and then write a report and send it back so they could try to tweak their design and improve their optic before it's ready to actually bring to the market. So I ended up taking just a micro pistol dot sight back with me, and I just got done evaluating that today. In fact, I was made it about halfway through the report that I'm writing for them, and this particular sight is not really ready for market, I don't think yet, which is what I'm telling them in this report. But that's kind of cool, to have the ability to do something like that, send information back to a manufacturer, to have them improve their products. So by the time it is released, hopefully it'll be something that's going to perform to the expectations of anybody who decides to purchase it. So that was another fun thing that came out of this. Totally unexpected, but a lot of fun. Oh, somebody asked me about people that I saw. I almost ran into Jerry Michalek the first time when I talked about walking around in a fog. I don't even think the doors had opened yet. I was walking one way and he was walking another, and looked up and literally almost ran into him. Um, I would have said hi, but he didn't look too happy. So I don't know if he was late getting somewhere or he was having a morning like I was or whatever. So I didn't say anything to him. He just walked by. I saw James Reeves from TFB. I saw Grantham was there. I saw Ian from Forgotten Weapons. Who else did I see? I saw the guy from the Warrior Poet Society, whose name I can't remember right off the top of my head. I saw a couple of guys. I'm not familiar with these guys, but there was a huge crowd around these two guys at one of the booths, and there was a sign up that said something like two fake seals or something like that. So these guys are apparently pretty popular, but I'd never heard of them before. Ohio Gunrunner, what was the one thing you saw that wowed you the most? The one that I keep thinking about is that brand new 686 plus no lock Smith & Wesson mountain gun that's being offered by Lipsey's. I've got the 44 Magnum version of that revolver right here beside me in the safe. I wanted one of the 357 686 revolvers back 20 or 25 years ago when they built them, and they were not around very long, probably, I don't know, a year or so, and they were gone. And this is the first time I know of that Smith & Wesson is producing them again for Lipsey's. And when I saw that there, if you saw my video that I produced, like I said, I was just in love with that revolver. So I talked to the gentleman, Jason from Lipsey's. I've actually emailed him and received an email back since I got home. Hopefully, when those things are ready, when they receive them at Lipsey's, get a shipment of them in, I'm hoping that I'm going to get one here that I can review for all of you, which probably is going to end up not going back, truthfully. But that, I think, of everything I saw, that, and I think the T-48 from DSA, that was just extremely cool also for them to be rebuilding that historic firearm that was in competition for the M14 rifle back in the early 1950s. That was another really cool one. Trying to think of anything else that just really caught my attention. I mean, there's some firearms there that are just so expensive that even though they're phenomenal firearms, and I'm talking about like the Cabot 1911s or even like the Colt Pythons. Yeah, those Colt Pythons are beautiful, beautiful revolvers. but holy smokes, they're expensive. So some of those I see them and they're just fabulous firearms, but I don't foresee myself ever owning any because they're just beyond my price range. Don't trust coffee makers in hotel rooms. And I'm zooming down through the comments right now. HR needs an admin. Yes, I do. Craig Benz, he's Captain Kirk to me too. And I'm sure I missed some of your comments, everyone, and I apologize for that because again, I'm zooming down through here. I've been doing a lot of talking and not a lot of comment reading. Marv Turner has seen lots of videos about all kinds of stuff at the SHOT Show that I just don't much want. Must be either too old or too spoiled. With the SHOT Show, and I meant to mention this when I was talking about it, it's not just firearms. That's part of the thing. There are companies there that are manufacturing products that they are trying to sell to firearms manufacturers. There are CNC milling machine companies there. There are barrel manufacturers there. There are stock manufacturers. All kinds of different component manufacturers, companies that will machine receivers or whatever for other companies so they can build them into firearms. So, I mean, it's just a ton of stuff like that. It's not just strictly firearms manufacturers. There was a lot of clothing manufacturers there. I tried on a pair of boots that were brand new to the market, basically duty type boots. And for my trouble, they gave me a pair of free socks. Now, either that or else they felt bad for me because they didn't like the socks I was wearing. But either way, I got a pair of free socks for trying on a pair of boots. Steve Detweiler, Matt Carricker of Demolition Ranch has announced that he is leaving YouTube after 18 years, needs more time for family. You know what? I was thinking about this the other day. In the now 12 plus years that I've had my channel, I've seen a lot of channels come and a lot of channels go. When I go back or I think back to when I first started, there were a lot of people around back in those days that aren't here now. Some of them have actually passed away. Not unfortunately, and I'm thinking of people like Paul Harrell or James Yeager. Some people have just decided that they don't want to do this anymore, which I get. This is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. I'm fortunate that I'm retired, so I can do this as a part-time job nowadays. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people bow out, and I think some people just get tired of fighting with YouTube and Google, which I totally get. And talk about 2011s. I'm just going down through here. Matt Carricker has 15 million subs. Wow. Katie Cowboy picked up an Osight S and like it. Yeah, I remember you said your Siley died. I really like the Osights. The original one that I got last year still works just great. The newer ones that I've been testing now for whatever it's been, a couple of months, are holding up fantastically. They're doing great. I think Olight or Osight now is making a really good product. Craig Benz would like to know if the front sight width of the new Model 10 and Model 36 half moon is the same as those from 1947 or from the 1970s. I looked at those things and I cannot really tell you. I didn't look at the sight specifically to try to get an idea of how thick it is. So I'm not sure. I guess probably you'll have to wait until you actually see one of those in a store someplace, take a look at the site to try to figure out what the answer to that is. Steve Detweiler, did you buy anything or have your eye on something that you saw at the show? I don't think I bought anything there. Now I take that back. I learned you don't buy anything at the SHOT Show because I think it was on the first day. It was toward the end of the day. I was walking through there and I was getting thirsty. And there was a little concession stand in one of the rooms that they had, a little refrigerator with different kinds of soda in there. And I got a Diet Pepsi and I walked over to pay for it. And the guy said something like, "Oh, this is going to be expensive," or something. And I thought, what are you talking about? It was like for a diet, just a regular can of Diet Pepsi. So I learned you don't buy anything to eat or drink at the SHOT Show. You go to the place at Circus Circus before you get there, or you wait to get back, or you wait till Loophole starts to give out free beer. You don't buy anything to eat or drink at the SHOT Show. Jeff Tim just looked at your oldest videos. How is the Duracoat holding? Very well. Um, the thing with Duracoat, and I think this is true with Cerakote too, everything is about your surface prep before you start to coat your firearm. Getting it roughed up properly, getting it absolutely completely degreased before you start to apply any of the coating. That makes all the difference in the world. Now, it's still, if you bang it, scrape it, scratch it, you can gouge the finish just like any firearms finish. But generally speaking, and I wish I could grab some of these firearms and show them to you. They still look very good. And going down through here, looking for a comment for me. A lot of you guys are talking to each other. Raybo34, my first HR Funk video was the 1022 bull barrel install. I've been watching ever since. And I've got a cool 1022, I'll call it an accessory because I don't know what else to call it, that's coming. This is something I saw at the show. It's really an innovative product. I'm looking forward to getting this thing here and actually being able to show it to all of you in a video. I think you're going to be impressed. I was impressed when I saw this, and I think they're calling this the like 2022 or 2222 or something like that. This item that goes on the 1022, but it was extremely innovative, and I'm looking forward to this. I've already gotten an email from the manufacturer saying they're going to be sending it to me, so hopefully I'll have that fairly soon. Been watching channels since it was HR Chunk. Thanks, Rabbi. Chris M. Yeah, some of my very early videos were dealing with Duracoating firearms that I was using at the time. Rabbi, were there any retro rifles coming out that are interesting? There's a ton of them. Everything from older flintlock styles to that T48 that I was talking about to PSA has got a line of retro ARs to include an XM177, the older A1 style. They've got an A2 style, I believe. Trying to think if they have anything else in their retro line. Lever actions coming out all over the place. Of course, Smith & Wesson now is coming out with a lever action that's kind of like a ultra modern tactical lever action, which strikes me as a little silly, but whatever. If somebody likes it, great. Henry has got some new models coming out that I saw that remind me a lot of the one that reminds me of the semi-auto they came out with a year or so ago. Only these are lever action versions. What else did I see? all kinds of bolt action tactical rifles, hunting rifles, things like that. I saw a Barrett semi-auto with a drum magazine, if you can imagine that. Having that thing that's just basically as fast as you can squeeze the trigger, and I don't know how many rounds the drum held, but a bunch of them, more 50 cals than I would want coming my direction. Steve Detweiler, looking forward to your new purchases this year. Will your favorite 2025 be a pistol, rifle? Who knows? Might even be a shotgun. I think I've got another shotgun coming. I'm not sure, but I think I do. PSA is making a 50 caliber. I don't think I saw that. Dale Kidd, tacked out lever guns seem weird. I agree. Until your government takes away your semi-autos. Yeah. Yeah, I keep hoping for you folks, Dale, north of the border, that something turns around and gets some of your rights restored to you. But I don't know. My heart goes out to you guys, and everyone else who lives in a country that restricts your firearms freedoms. I don't know. I feel bad for you. I wish there was something we could do. Chris M just got the first lever action a few months, 22 lever action a few months ago, and not a fan of the limited aftermarket support. Oh, that's too bad. Scott from South Carolina, do you recommend the Mac Beretta copy shotgun that you've been testing? Yes, I do. That thing, and I was just talking to him down there at the SDS booth about that. I was talking to one of their engineers, and that shotgun is fantastic. For the price of that thing, it runs fabulously. I've had some people that have commented that they don't have good luck with light loads or whatever. I don't run mine with light loads. I look at that as a defensive shotgun. I run it with double-aught buck. I run it with slugs, and it runs just fine. If you're looking to run extremely light loads, then you're probably always going to be better off with a slide action shotgun that's not going to be dependent on the power of the cartridge to give you reliable cycling. But for good full power defensive loads, that 1014 shotgun has been great. I hear you, Dale. I hear you. 18 wheels and a dozen six shooters. I live in the communist country of Massachusetts. Lever is about the best we can get nowadays. Yeah. It, so many firearms enthusiasts live in places where they face those kind of restrictions. And again, I feel bad for all of you. I'm fortunate here in Ohio. We have pretty free ability to purchase and own whatever we want. Basically, the only restrictions we have are NFA firearms, which is part of the reason I was so glad to finally get that Mac 5, because it's a semi-auto, non-NFA. I can put a brace on it, which at least for now is legal. So I was extremely glad to get that. And we are coming up on the 1 hour mark, everybody. So I'll keep it going for another few minutes. If anybody has any last minute questions, comments, anything you want to ask me, questions about Vegas or anything else for the good of the order, remember tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I've got the regular Saturday morning premiere video. If you've never been present for that, we always have a live chat that corresponds with the premiere video. So you can jump in there if you've got a question about anything that's going on in the video. If you've got anything else that you want to talk about, you can throw that out to the gang. We usually have a good group in there, and everybody is very friendly and very welcoming. So feel free to join us. Again, that will be tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And that's going to be the follow-up video with my Mac 5 that I unveiled a week ago in that video, if you saw that one. And all right. Again, you guys are talking to each other, which is great. I'm just looking for any comments that might be directed at me. And I'm not seeing any. So, all right. I think I'm going to start to wrap things up here. This has been great, everyone. As always, thanks to everyone who watches the videos and participates in the live chat. Thanks to everyone who has been part of the live stream this evening. It is all of you who keeps me coming back time after time after time. It is not dealing with YouTube. I am not getting rich doing this, believe me. But it is the interaction with all of you and the great community that we have here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to my channel members for the contribution you make every month. There are times now, for whatever reason, I've been on a roll here lately as far as my content being monetized. So keeping my fingers crossed that continues. But those times when YouTube starts to demonetize everything is when my channel members are so wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks for the $10 donation that I got during the stream this evening. All of you have a great, great evening. I hope to see you all again tomorrow morning. And that's going to do it for now. And until next time, everybody, good shooting and bye-bye.